Hi Year 3, welcome to a new week of maths. So, well done on all your hard work last week. I know it got really challenging there the last few days, but well done you for giving it your best. Today, this week, we're moving on to something completely different. We're leaving multiplication and division behind us for the moment. And we're returning to look at some addition and subtraction. So, really simple something to start off with first of all, but a crucial part of today's lesson is just going with a normal number bond to 10. Do you know what we call this number here? In an addition calculation, in a number sentence, this number here is called the sum. Okay, the sum of 2 add 8 is 10. Okay, now what do we then call these numbers that we're adding together? These numbers are called the addends. The addends. 2 is an addend, 8 is an addend, and 10 is the sum. Okay, so make sure you're comfortable with saying that word, addend. If I give you any sum, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. What's this number? This number you should be thinking is the sum. And then 25 is an addend, and so is 22. 22 is the addend, okay? We have two addends that add together to create the sum, okay? So I'm just going to give you a few examples now, and I want you to pick out the addends, okay? So, let's start off quite simply. Let's do think the two addends and the sum. Good, you should be saying the two addends are here and the sum is 75, okay? Let's look at a different one. What is the sum? The sum, of course, is 100. Remember, the sum is the total, okay? And then the addends are 70 and 30, the addends. Make sure you can say that, the addends, okay? So just because I flipped it around this time, your addends are still the numbers that you add together. Okay, right, let me see. What about if I gave you a representation that looked like this? Okay, I hope you can see that. So that's 14 and that's 50. Which are my addends? My addends this time. You should be thinking 14 and 50 are my addends. Of course, because they add together to create the whole, and this is the sum. Okay? So, in different representations, think carefully about which numbers you're adding together to create the sum. What about if I gave it to you in another different representation? I could give you, so these are my tens. Confused myself there. Okay, so different representation. I've used Dean's this time. What are my two addends? My two addends are, of course, this number, 34, this number, 15, and my sum, remember my total, my sum is this one here, 49. Okay, really, you've got to really think carefully when the representations change, which numbers are you adding together? Okay, just a couple more. Let's go with a representation that looks like this. Okay, I've got a bar model here, 120, which is split into 120. What are my addends? My addends are, of course, 120. These are my addends, and my sum is 120. Okay, so hoping by now you are picking this out rather easily. The addends are the ones that you're adding together. Just one more example. Some of you may have seen a sum laid out like this. Which are my addends, which is the sum? So you should be saying, Miss Palmer, of course these are the addends. And this 39 here is the sum. Okay, sum being the total. Right, I think I've done that to death. I'm sure you're all extremely confident in pointing out the addends and the sum. Now, going back to my example with the Deans, notice how I set it out. So this is, I'm using really simple numbers here, but these are going to grow in complexity. So you really need to make sure that these simple ones, whilst I know that many of you can just do them in your head, to this week, especially the beginning of it, what's really, really crucial is the layout, and that you're careful and that you understand the method, because if you get this wrong now, you're going to find it really, really difficult to fix it when we get further down the line and the numbers get bigger and greater. Okay, so let's just have a look at a really simple addition, two addends with a sum in Deans. So let's go with, I've got 110 here and 2 ones, and let's go with 2 10s and 5 ones. Okay. Notice, well, first of all, what do you notice about the way that I've laid it out? Okay, what do you notice? What I'm hoping you notice is that these are being added together, of course, and I have laid out my Deans so that the 10s are lined up and the 1s are lined up. So, when it comes to, these are my addends, remember, I'm lining up the addends. That is one of the most crucial things from today and tomorrow's lesson, lining up the addends. So then, when it comes to adding, I can do it in a really straightforward way. So I'm going to add my 1s first of all. 2 1s, add, I made 6 1s. 2 1s, add 6 1s is, of course, 8 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I can move on to adding my 10s, and because it's all in a line, in a column, this is really easy. So I have, of course, 3 10s. Okay. Similarly, if you wanted to lay this out with numbers, let's do that on this side. So what did I have here? I had 12, so I'm putting my 10s this side and my 1s this side. And here I had 2 10s and 6 1s, 26. Exactly the same. Oh, you can't really see that 2, can you? Sorry about the light, there's a big 2 here. Exactly the same, I'm keeping my 10s in a line and my 1s in a line. This makes it really straightforward for adding them up. So 2 add 6 is of course 8, as we found out here. 1 10 add 2 10s is 3 10s, okay? Really, really crucial today, lining them up, okay? What we are beginning to look at is column addition, okay? It's going to seem quite straightforward, quite basic today. And some of you, I know, will have either worked with me or Miss Boyle or even Mrs. Foster and have a little look at this kind of thing before, okay? So you might be ahead of the game when it comes to this kind of method, but just bear with, because we need to make sure that everybody understands the vital importance of keeping everything in a row. So let's just have a look at the next task. So you have a couple of tasks today where you have to pick out the add end. I'm just trying to make my computer work. There we go. Now, then, so we've discussed the importance of keeping everything in a row. Then you're going to be given 2 add-ends that you need to place into a grid. So it's drawing back on that place value knowledge. First of all, 63. Here's my place value grid. What's wrong with that? Do we ever put 2 numbers in one? No. Okay. What's wrong with that? I've written 36, not 63. Remember, this is your 10s and these are your 1s. So, how would I write the correct number? Of course, 63 would go into our place value grid like that. Okay? Now, let's have a look at 2 add-ends together. So 21 add 34. Okay, they're the 2 add-ends I've been given. And I've been given a grid that looks like this. We're just working with 10s and 1s at the moment. Okay, and your task is to put the 2 add-ends into here in the right places. So I showed you a few mistakes that could have been made. It's important, like we did with the Deans, you line up your 10s and you line up your 1s. So 21 is obviously going to go in 2 10s, 1 1. 34 can go underneath, remember keeping our 10s all in a row. 30, 3 10s and 4 1s. Done, absolutely spot on, correct. Okay. Now, on your task sheet today, I have given you boxes to write them in. Okay, it's because I need to see on the computer that you know where each number goes on a place value grid. However, what you also need to be doing is getting yourself a piece of paper and a pencil, perhaps you have one now, and practicing for yourself with, before you write it on the computer, laying it out like I have with your pencil and paper, okay? It's going to be easier when we get back to school, because remember we have boxes in our maths book. However, you need to be really strict with yourself, okay? Let me show you what might go wrong. So you might draw out a lovely table. Or in fact, that might be your problem. You might go, 21, 34. I don't know if you can see that, but that is not, let me just see if I can move it closer. What's gone wrong there? Okay, that is just a fraction really of what could have gone wrong. that's not going to help me make sure I'm adding things in the right place. I might end up adding the 2 and the 4 and then the 1 and the 3, and that is not what we want to be doing. We want to keep our 10s and our 1s separate. Okay, so whilst you're going to be putting the numbers in the right place on your task sheet, I also want you to be doing it with a pencil and paper, making sure everything is nicely in a line. I cannot stress that enough, how important that is. Okay. Last of all, you have some simple addition questions to do. So actually, going back to that example, once you have shown that you can put things in the right places, then it's time to work out the answers. Okay, what you'll notice is I've drawn really thick lines at the bottom. You don't need to do this, but it's just to emphasise these are our addends and this is like an equal sign. It equals what goes in here. Okay, so putting our numbers carefully back in, 2 10s, 1 1, 3 10s, 4 1s. Now I can add. We always start with this column. Let's add our addends. 1 add 4 goes into our equal sign. 5. 2 10s add 3 10s is of course 5 10s. Inside our big equal sign, you can see the answer is of course 55. Okay, so I know that some of you will think, oh, Miss Power, I don't need that method, I can add these in my head. Okay, remember I said today is about practicing the method. Whilst the maths is fairly straightforward, it's about the method. Keep your pencil and paper there, keep writing. Remember, it's really important to get everything in a line. Someone I know who's particularly good at that actually is Tommy. He's very careful at putting things in a line, so I'd love to see how you get on. If you're able to take a picture of your writing on paper and send it in, I would love to see that. If not, you can do it on the task sheet. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing how you get on, guys. Okay, see you tomorrow.